using zero when we do our finalized budget, but at this point, I
That would
think,
be awesome.
yeah.
too, yeah.
And I think based at the percentage that we're at, the 6.2 million in fund balance.
And that's
I
not
think that
bad
we
for
can
what
be
we're at
okay.
right now, having the fund balance that you do have for us in
Right.
the reserves, so.
Right,
But anyway, yeah, zero would even be better the
Yeah.
other way, yeah.
yeah, right now we have unassigned fund balance of about 6.8%, and we're allowed to go up to 8% based on the state laws and guidelines.
Yeah, that's
We have
changed
about
over the
6.2
years since the
right now.
90s when I was involved, and one's telling you spend your fund balance, the other one's telling you don't the next term. It was pretty crazy, but
Yeah. Yeah,
I guess you gotta do what you gotta do at home
Right.
so that we're okay to get by
yeah,
for the year,
it's,
right?
you know, and a few years back, our fund balance was quite low, we were under $1 million
Yeah,
in fund balance, and, you know, we did increase taxes quite a few mills over the last few years to cover the
yeah,
cost that we needed to run the district. And, you know, we did eventually end up getting the Plan Con money that was backlogged
yeah.
for us
right.
for
That was
several
another
years,
problem, yeah.
which we were using our fund balance money to cover our
Feed the
expenses.
mortgage
because-
man,
Yeah, we weren't getting the funding from the state, but we still owed on our bond payments, we still had to make those, so we had, you know, decreased our fund balance over time because of that. And, you know, we've been able to build that back up.
But right now, and I don't want to interrupt you too much, but the debt retiring in 2025 is a big thing for our school district also, so.
And this is just a breakdown of that 6.2. This is something that we did over the summer when we finalized our audit from 15-16 school year. And we committed money, we committed $756,000 of that fund balance toward retirement incentive payable. So that's money that we know will be going out over the next X number of years based on the retirees we have in place right now. We assigned money towards future increases with healthcare, with PSERS, and also for some capital projects, because we talked about using some of our fund balance to cover some of the costs of our current project that we're working on.
And there was a few bucks out of the construction fund, or no, were you going to use?
We talked about both, yeah,
Right, okay.
yeah, because we do have a capital reserve,
Right,
and we could
capital
also
reserve.
take some out of there if need be, and then our unassigned, which is the 6.8%, $2.6 million. Now I'm going to flip to the other side and just talk about the revenue, or the expenditures, and how they break out, and also anything that we have different or changing from 16-17 to 17-18. The way we break down expenditures by function, and that is our instructional budget, is 56.3% of our expenditures go for instruction. And instruction is salaries, benefits, supplies, anything to run all our classrooms. So all the classrooms that are in place right now fall under the instructional budget. Support services is 32% of our budget, and that covers our guidance department, our libraries, our nursing, our administrative, our board, any board expenses we have, that all comes under, and maintenance. They all come under support services, and that's 32% of our budget. And student and community services is 2%, and that covers our student activities and our sports programs come under student and community services, 2%. And then our debt service is 9.5% of our budget is to pay our debt. And this is just the expenses again, broke down just a different way. We spend just under 40% of our budget on salaries, just under 28% on benefits, and then the others as broken out. Again, the debt service is the same, listed the same 9.5% on that. Only 2.6% spent on supplies. Certified staff, the new request that we're looking at in this budget. We have 1.5 teachers retiring this year. We have a part-time teacher who's retiring and a full-time teacher. Outgoing salaries on those two individuals is $113,000. A replacement of those, and this budget does include replacing both of those individuals, would cost about $72,800 in replacement to hire level one, step one, I should say, teacher. The retirement incentives based on the current negotiated contract would cost us about $33,000 for those two retirees. And in addition to replacing those two retirees, we're looking at adding one additional special ed teacher if you recall, maybe about 3 months ago, we did talk to the board and advertised for the addition of a special ed teacher in our middle school, high school. We did not hire at this time, where they didn't find a candidate that was what they were looking for. So we did add that into the 17-18 budget, because they do still have a need for that person futuristically. So they'll advertise again and try and find the candidate that could cover the area that they're looking for.
I have a question on that last one.
Yep.
Go back to that. So with the 2 teachers going out, we're gonna save, it's gonna cost us $33,000 for their retire.
Yeah.
Correct? So now we're gonna hire 2 more at $72,000, right? So now actually, that 72,000 actually is 105,000 by the time you figure in the 33,000.
Yeah, it's
So
just over 100.
within 2 years' time, we're already behind the 8 ball with those 2 teachers hiring out early.
With those individual people, yes, yeah. But still, under the negotiated contract that we have in place now, that entire retirement incentive is a lot lower than they were
Yeah,
in
still,
the past
still.
contract. It still
higher
costs
cost.
money, absolutely. It's 16.5 thousand per year for a retiree, as long as they qualify. Another new request we have under the support staff is an elementary assistant principal. I know that Matt and Ellen have talked to the board about that previously, and we did include that in our proposed budget to cover the cost of an assistant elementary principal. Existing staff, our administrative and our professional staff both have salaries set through 2020. Our substitute teacher, the teacher rate is $95 a day, and guest teacher $85 a day. We are not proposing changes to the substitute rates. And then also the other items are all salaries set through 2020, excuse me. Under our benefits, our PPO rates are increasing 8% over current year, and the expense total will be just over $4.8 million for the healthcare expense. That expense number above that 4.8 million does include a reduction of 242,000, and that is from retirees who are aging out from the old contract that we covered their healthcare costs. We have a savings coming through in 17-18 of about 242,000 by those that are aging out of our insurance coverage. Our life insurance costs us about 18,000 a year. Social Security, Medicare tax, it's 7.65% of all the salaries that we pay out, and that totals $1.3 million. And if you remember back on the revenue side, we talked about the state funding for Social Security. That's their half of that comes back. That's our expense, that's our total expense, the 1.3 million, and then half of it comes back from the state to fund that. Same with the retirement. The retirement rate is increasing to 32.57. From our current 30.03%. And the net increase to us is about $300,000.
Is this the last year, and I know you talked about it, is this the last year, or is there another year or so going up before it starts coming back down?
It's still gonna go up a little bit over this 32.5, but the incremental increase is lower. Like last year, we had, I think, we had a 21% increase last year.
Okay.
We had about 21%, and this year it's an 8% increase.
8%.
So we're going from 30%, the previous year we went from, I think, 25% to the 30%. And this year we went from 30 to the 32, so it was a smaller incremental increase than we had in previous years. Workers' compensation, based on our current mod factor, we believe our expenses to be about 188,000. We just got our new mod, it's 1.044, which I think Mr. Olsmo will get that. I'm not sure if everybody else does. And then our unemployment compensation, which is also a mandated benefit, is about 37,000 in expenses. This is just looking at the changes from the old contract to the new contract. So early retirement incentive. During the 16-17 school year, we paid out the last of the old retirement incentive. It was the 90% of the last year's salary broken out over 3 years. So in 16-17, we paid the last of the $343,000. So that came off our expense. And then our healthcare costs to the retirees that aged out saved us an additional $242,000. Under purchase services, charter schools. I usually put this slide up there because I like to keep that in everyone's mind of how much we do pay. We have approximately 73 students that are enrolled during the 16-17 year. That is down from the previous year by a few students. We did get a couple of students that came back into our own program. But overall, we budget about $1.2 million between regular ed and special ed students that attend charter schools, and that expense comes out of
A little off
our
track,
regular
but
budget.
the bottom line is, I understand that charter schools are being reviewed to make sure that they're meeting the same requirements as public schools, that they haven't in the past.
Yeah, I know there are some legislative proposals out there
Something's gotta be done.
about charter schools, but I haven't seen any changes that have been officially made yet.
Yes, of
to their
yet, yeah,
requirements,
but it's
but
good
I
they're
know they're
talking
looking at
about it
that.
because, yeah,
Mhm.
it's,
Yeah. Student transportation, the cost index, which is given to us yearly by the state, is going up to 5.681. It's a 2.1% increase. So our expenses for, we pay everything out at state formula. Our expenses would increase about 2.1% over our 16-17 rates, and our total budget is about 3.8 million. I left that in there, look for changes to come as we work on more efficient routes. I know we made some changes this past summer, and I'm assuming we'll still continue to look at that for future years. This is, the 16-17 years, the last of the 3 years on the current contract, so we'll be looking to re-up the transportation contracts for buses. The vans are yearly. The vans contracts only run one year. The buses run 3 years. Extracurricular activities, maintain the expenses from 16-17. Back in, before the 16-17 school year, we did put back some expenses into the budget to cover things that we had cut out in previous years because of our budget needs and because of the expenses, but we've added back some transportation costs and some coverage for some of the competition teams that run with the co-curricular activity. Supplies. So for instructional, this year, we'll be looking, at 17-18, we'll be looking at textbook replacements for the middle school and high school for language arts. This current year, in our current budget, we are looking at purchasing, and we're actually almost in the process of purchasing the language arts for the elementary schools. That's gonna get, they've worked on that throughout the year, and then those items will be purchased and ready to go for next year. Buildings and grounds. We extended our guaranteed energy savings project to do additional work this summer. We're looking at doing just over $5 million worth of projects this summer, based on everything that has been discussed over the last 6 months or more.
touch base on that real quick though, with Mr. Adams helping out with the banking for the funding for the additional $5 million. We have up to $6.5 million if we need that money. The bottom line was Joe went out because he's been in the banking business for a long time and got that money at 3.34 or something like that %, which is outstanding. So we got the money very reasonable to be able to work,
Right.
finish the project.
We got approval to borrow up to $6.5 million. We will only draw as we have to pay out to
And
CM3.
that
We
was
will
another
draw
good point, so, okay.
the whole $6.5 million. We'll draw as we need. We are settling or closing on that loan on Wednesday this
Okay.
week. So that'll be official, and then we haven't received a bill pay application from CM3 yet.
Where are you
but
doing that, at Wayne Bank in
We're
Waymark?
going,
Or
I think we're into Honesdale. I think we're going to the main branch.
Because Wayne Bank and First National Bank of Honesdale are involved in this, correct?
Wayne Bank and Honesdale
And
National.
Honesdale National, yeah.
Yeah, but all the paperwork and everything is going through Wayne Bank.
Through Wayne Bank, okay.
Yeah, so we're going to their, I think it's their headquarters, over in
okay.
Honesdale, is where we're doing the closing. Also, under buildings and grounds, this current year, we replaced 2 of the trucks that were outdated for our vehicle fleet, and also a van. And both trucks are here, we do have both of them in place now. And the van should be here in the next week or two. They've told us it's just about done, so we should have the van in place. Next year, we needed to look, and we started looking at it now, but we pushed it to this coming year's budget, replacing some of our tractors. Some of the tractors that they're using right now at the high school level are 1991, 92 tractors that are on their last leg.
Me too.
You know, they've kind of made them work, but we're looking at replacing those for this year. And also looking at a floor machine for, that would be a new purchase of equipment for, when we put in the new flooring in the middle school, we took out all the carpeting out of
Okay.
the main hallways, and we went to the other floor. So they're looking at adding a machine to be able to clean those,
Rose,
which we
and-
don't have right now.
In regards to vehicles, I mean, really, we ran them until there was nothing left of them.
Right.
We used to have, when you were here, when I think Andy was here, and what we did was every so many years, we would trade them in so that they'd have some value left. Is it a possibility to look into something like that
I think we
again?
need to start that, yeah, and we did,
Yeah.
when Joe Adams was here, we did start to put a list together of
Right.
the current vehicles and, you know, values and when we need to start replacing them.
Because it
So
did work out well
I do
when
think
we
we
did it
need
in
to
the past.
do that on an ongoing basis. When our budgets got tight and we were kind of really low on fund balance, we
Right.
kind of, we went
We let
away
it
from
go.
that, which we shouldn't have.
Yeah.
We should have kept it and kept at least replacing one per year, but we didn't.
So you are gonna look back into doing something like that
Yeah.
if it was possible?
Yeah.
Okay.
And our debt service, 16, 17, we are doing the general obligation note. That is gonna close on Wednesday. We will spend approximately $221,000 on interest per year.